The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Atreyu stepped through the crystalline archway. His boots echoed against the obsidian floor, each footfall a deliberate statement of presence. Around him, representatives from 47 species watched with eyes that ranged from curiosity to barely concealed contempt. Humans were still the newcomers here, the primitives who had stumbled into faster-than-light travel barely a century ago. Ambassador Velkorth, a towering Kralik with iridescent scales, raised one of his forearms in greeting. Human Atreyu, you've requested this emergency session. The Council hopes your reasons are substantial. Atreyu smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. I'm here to discuss the Void Wraiths. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. Several species shifted in their seats. The Sirathi delegate actually hissed, her serpentine form coiling tighter. The Wraiths are legend, Velkorth said, his voice tight. Ancient stories to frighten hatchlings. They're real, Atreyu countered. And they're coming. He activated the holographic display and the chamber filled with three-dimensional star charts. Red markers bloomed across the outer rim territories, each one a colony gone dark, a research station fallen silent. 17 installations in the past month. Atreyu continued. No survivors. No wreckage. Just absence. The Meridian Counselor, her crystalline body refracting the light into rainbow patterns, spoke with a voice like wind chimes. If these wraiths exist, what can be done? They are beings of pure darkness, immune to energy weapons, impervious to kinetic strikes. Our ancestors fled before them eons ago. Your ancestors fled, Atreyu said quietly. Mine learned to be afraid. Confusion flickered across alien faces. Velkorth leaned forward. Explain yourself, human. Atreyu walked to the center of the chamber beneath the holographic carnage. You want to know what makes humans different? It's not our technology, we're still playing catch-up. It's not our physical prowess. Dozens of species could break us in half. It's this. We evolved on a death world and we learned to master our fears by making them our own. He gestured to the display. The Void Wraiths feed on terror. They are terror. But humans? We've been telling ourselves scary stories since we learned to speak. We painted monsters on cave walls. We whispered them around fires. We wrote them in books and projected them on screens. We built entire industries around being afraid. Madness, the Sirathi delegate hissed. You celebrate weakness? No, Atreyu said, his voice hardening. We weaponize it. The display shifted, showing Earth's history. Images of ancient humans huddled in caves, prey animals in a world of predators. Then the images changed. Humans hunting megafauna, humans building cities, humans reaching for the stars. Every species here evolved as either predator or prey, Atreyu continued. You had the advantage of strength or the advantage of numbers. But humans? We were prey that refused to stay prey. We were afraid of the dark, so we made fire. We were afraid of wild beasts, so we made spears. We were afraid of death itself, so we made medicine, art, religion, anything to push back against the void. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Void Wraiths think fear is their weapon. They don't understand that for humans, fear is fuel. Pretty words, Velkorth said. But what action do you propose? Atreyu's smile returned, and this time it was sharp. I propose we stop running. I propose we do what humanity has always done. We face the monster in the dark. He pulled up new schematics. Human Psychological Warfare Division has been developing something. We call it Project Phantom. If the Wraiths feed on fear, we're going to give them indigestion. The technology was elegant in its simplicity. Neural broadcasting arrays that could project humanity's collective nightmares into the void. Not random terror, but focused, weaponized horror. Every ghost story, every nightmare, every primal fear that humans had cataloged and codified over millennia. You would fight darkness with darkness? The Meridian's voice held something like awe. We'd fight it with familiarity, Atreyu corrected. These things have never encountered a species that looked their fears in the eye and said, I've seen worse in my dreams. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some called it insanity, others called it desperate brilliance. But as Atreyu stood there, calm and resolute, a strange thing happened. The fear that had gripped the chamber began to shift, to transform into something else, hope. 3 weeks later, Atreyu stood on the bridge of the newly christened Primordial, humanity's first fear projection dreadnought. Around him, a coalition fleet assembled, species who had chosen to stand rather than flee. The Void Wraiths came as predicted, boiling out of dark space like living shadows, their presence a psychic weight that crushed courage and birthed despair. Atreyu gave the order. The arrays activated, and suddenly the void was filled with humanity's nightmares. Not fear itself, but the defiance born from fear. Every monster humanity had ever imagined and conquered. Every darkness they'd pushed back against. Every what if they'd turned into what now. The wraiths recoiled. For beings that had existed since before recorded time, feeding on the terror of younger species, this was something new. Something incomprehensible. A species that had weaponized the very thing the wraiths were made of. The battle was brief but decisive. The wraiths retreated, scattered, fled into the deeper dark from which they'd emerged. They would return, Atreyu knew. But next time, the galaxy would be ready. As the coalition fleet regrouped and cheered their victory, Velkorth approached Atreyu on the bridge. "You humans are strange creatures," the ambassador said. "You turn weakness into strength, fear into weapons." Atreyu nodded, looking out at the stars. "That's what survivors do. And humanity has survived everything our universe and our imagination could throw at us. These wraiths are just one more thing that goes bump in the night." He smiled. "And we've always been good at turning on the lights."